Hey everybody, I'm here with Paula Turley. Paula is the chair of the Forms Committee, and the Forms Committee has done an extensive revision to our exclusive listing contract. The board adopted it on July 16th, and it is being rolled out onto all of our platforms. Paula is going to go ahead and explain the revisions. Hey Paula.
Hi there. So if you take a look at the screen in front of you here, we have our new exclusive listing contract that the Forms Committee has been working on for over a year. And it was adopted by the board of directors and looked at and reviewed by the attorneys. So it is good to go and should start to be used. There is a lot of changes that we have made from the previous contract that we are all used to. And I know change is hard. One of the things you will notice is that you'll see it's page 1 of 3. So we did actually incorporate quite a bit of new language into the contract that we felt was necessary. And I'm going to go through a little bit of that with you today. So the first part of the contract, not really too much of a difference. You will see a couple of things change, whereas the location of the broker is still there. The seller and the seller's name, the broker's name is still there. The location's still there. The property address you still put in the book and page, and the price. You'll also notice that there is a change to the way that the contract dates read. So you put the expiration date of your contract in here, but you'll see that there is no beginning date. And the reason for that is because the beginning date is going to actually be the date that you sign the agreement, is going to be the day that you are going to start doing those client agent type of duties for your contract. If you take a look at the first section, type of listing contract, you still choose. This was something that was on the last page of our old contract. We're putting it right in the beginning. The second section, we added a section that talks about how much your buyer broker is going to get paid. This is something that was mandated that we needed to add in. It's also in our data input sheet, but we felt it should also be added into our listing contract. So that's the biggest change there. Under the section 3, we did add a section of seller warranties of what type of liens are on the property. We felt it was important to know up front what's going on with the seller as far as liens. So we have an idea of what their net proceeds are going to look like. You can have those conversations, start those conversations with your seller. Talks about the deficiencies as it does in the short sale section that used to go on page 1 that went over onto page 2, but we have it first on first page. The section 4 is all about the marketing, and you'll see it's broken up into A, B, C, and D. And it's all about how you're going to market the property. Are you going to make this an active listing right away? And then, of course, are you going to withhold their information? And you can check off whatever boxes are appropriate to what you're going to withhold. Or are you going to do what a lot of us do, is what's a delayed listing. So if you're going to list it as an active listing, that means that the date that you're going to sign this agreement, the date that you're going to go and talk to your seller, that's when your listing would go in MLS, is that date. But if you're going to need a few days, you're going to need some days to photograph and stage and so forth, you're going to want to go with this delayed listing feature. And you're going to list a date that you're going to actually make it go active with MLS here. So that way, with the date you sign the contract is the date that you can start doing client level services. But the date that you have here is the go active date, is the date you actually have it listed on MLS. So that is the purpose of the delayed listing. They've incorporated it right here. We also have incorporated a coming soon section that way you can start that conversation with the seller to see if they want to do a coming soon listing, and you need to attach a coming soon listing addendum. And then there's the section on withhold listing, which is a way that you can also market properties in certain circumstances, and it gives a little bit of details as to what that means to the seller and their listing. You must also attach the addendum to the contract in order for it to be valid. And so those are the major changes for the marketing of the property, which was severely needed, sorely needed. The next section under listing contact, not much change here. We did make some small minor changes to this. This is all about copyright and so forth. Disclosure of material facts is not really too much change in the wording, but if you take a look at what we added for checkboxes, these are the things that you may need to include in as disclosures for your seller to sign. And it also gives a little bit of direction to the agents as to when it's appropriate to have those specific disclosures. Please read through this carefully, as I've been noticing, and all of us actually have been noticing, that sometimes things are being used when they're not supposed to be used, and some things are being omitted altogether. So just be very leery of which disclosures you're throwing out to your seller to sign. And then we get to section 7, which is one of my favorite parts of the agreement that we've changed, and we did work quite a bit on. It's permitting. This is something that I think we all deal with on a regular basis, where a seller doesn't have something permitted properly and it comes up during inspections or during appraisal or when we do our research at town hall. It's good to have a conversation up front with the seller when you're going through the listing contract to know where they stand as far as any permitted or unpermitted work. And this allows you to have the conversation and for the seller to check which box is appropriate. Under signs, it's just asking about whether they want us to put a sign on the property, and a little section here about any instructions for placing of the signs. And then we follow that up with how they're going to allow entry into the property, including a section about the lock boxes and any additional showing instructions that you want to add here. Under section 10, audio and video surveillance, we pulled the Connecticut general statutes for this. We thought this was extremely important as well. There are a lot of sellers now that have audio and video types of surveillance, or either one or both on their property. And we do need to handle this appropriately. It is on the seller's onus to make sure it's done appropriately, but we have to make sure we have that conversation and that they check which box supplies, so that we are complying with the or the seller is complying with Connecticut general statute. Dual agency, not much change there. And then this comes into section 12, which is on page 3, where it talks about the offers. And this we also felt was very important to do. We need to know how the seller would like the offers to be presented. So first of all, that we need to present any offers unless the seller has waived the requirement. And we also have to allow the seller an option of whether or not they will allow the cooperating broker to participate in any presentations of their offer. That's right in our code of ethics. And then section C says broker shall disclose any multiple offers, either yes or no, as checked below to other agents. And this is obviously a big conversation that we all should be having at this point in time with our current market. Section 13 is about marketing the property after it's under contract. And we did update this to the new ways that the MLS, Smart MLS has changed their statuses. We also have the property insurance paragraph in here. There's not much difference on that paragraph. That was from the old agreement, as well as the liquidated damages section. We have an additional agreement section, so you can write in anything you want, just like the old contract. And we do still have this counterparts and electronic signature section. There's only differences as we've added the broker information here. We thought it was important that a seller not only know who their listing agent is and all of their contact information, but our old agreement didn't have any broker information. And so that's also important because a contract is essentially between a broker agency and a seller. Under contract enforcement and survivability, there's not much change there. Termination, no change there. And if you'll see these notices here, these are all the notices that were at the top of page 1. We've put them down to the bottom just to add a little bit more format, give the whole contract a little bit better formatting. And that is essentially it. The bottom of the document, there isn't as many as, it's a little bit of a shorter area for the signatures and dates and so forth. But that concludes what the changes are that have been made to the listing contract.
Good job, Paula. The committee worked really long and hard on this, and I think it flows really well and it covers all the bases. It's up to date with legal compliance as well as Smart MLS. So we hope that you're excited about these changes. If you have any questions at all, please call ECAR at 860-892-2595 and we can field your questions. Thanks a lot.